We are making our own story as we go, as we go, as we go. Hoping, we are hoping that we'll go so happy ever after, happy ever after.
Hi, welcome to your Dream Day Wedding Planning Podcast and YouTube channel. I'm your host, Kathy Peach Lucas, and today we have two very special guests. We have Cass and Jess from Rhinegeist Brewery. Say that 20 times in a row. Rhinegeist, Rhinegeist, Rhinegeist. No, we're very excited to have Rhinegeist on here. They're actually one of the, you guys are a Cincinnati staple.
Yeah.
I mean, not just for the beer that is brewed here, but your wedding venue. It's a historic building. You want to tell us a little bit about the building?
Yeah. So originally, I want to say like in 1910, and we are 1910 M Street, because it used to be the Christian Moorline like bottling plant. So that was over 100 years ago. So we haven't been around that long, but Rhinegeist has been around since 2013. So we came in, renovated this whole place, and what you come into for the tap room is going to be like where they used to bottle things. And then you'll see like in our different event spaces, we have 4. Those are also like the original spaces as well. So like you'll see like exposed brick, like right behind us. You'll see like the tiling on the floor in some of the spaces, as well as like the exposed rafters. They're all original.
And when you have a venue like that, it has history, but it has so much character.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're looking for a hotel ballroom, you know what to expect.
Exactly.
But when you go into a historic building, this is where you get all those beautiful gems within the decor. Are there any like specific things that jump out at you that are your favorite details here at Rhinegeist?
I mean, the way that I love the exposed brick. I love like seeing the exposed rafters. I wish we could turn the camera around and show everybody, but you're gonna have to come and see it yourself.
You're gonna have to watch it. Well, no, you're gonna have to watch the TikTok reel and the Instagram and Facebook reel that we're gonna do after this, so that you can get a little behind the scenes tour of what this property looks like. But it is just incredible, and your staff is amazing to work with too.
Thank you.
We've had weddings here, and we actually had, the last wedding we had here was in the 250 guest room, and
the
we
clubhouse.
had in the clubhouse, and we had the ceremony, and then guests had a cocktail hour, and then we flipped and got rid of the ceremony chairs and made that into a dance floor. So, well, fantastic. And you also have a wedding show coming up.
Yes. We do.
Yes.
We do. And Cass is going to tell a little more about that.
Yeah, so we're super excited. I Do's and Brews, a craft wedding experience with Rhinegeist Brewery, is on Sunday, May 19th from 12 to 3 p.m. This is a ticketed event. It's only $15 a ticket, and that includes your first complimentary drink on arrival. And we'll also give you a little goodie bag with information from each vendor. And then it's also great to carry around, put any goodies that vendors have throughout the day, or more information for you to take home with you.
I like that it's a nice pink bag.
Yeah.
It's a pink bag that says your Dream Day podcast on it. So of course, of course I'm going to like the pink goodie bag. But who are some of the vendors that people can expect to talk to? What types?
Yeah.
Any specific names that you can tell us?
Sure. So all of our vendors are listed on the event page, which we'll get to in a little bit. But we have just under 60 vendors, everything from those more traditional wedding and event vendors like caterers, florists, planners, DJs, live music, but also some that are a little more non-traditional that maybe somebody wouldn't have thought of. Like there's going to be a travel agent there. There's going to be somebody from an insurance company who is great to reach out to about insuring that new wedding jewelry you just got. There is a nanny service.
That I actually have a wedding in a few weeks, and we have a nanny service that's going to be there that day. They're going to be babysitting 4 or 5 children.
Yeah.
Yep.
So just something a little unique, and really no matter your style, your budget, your venue choice, your partner, there is going to be something here for you.
60 vendors, that's a big turnout.
Yes.
How exciting.
We're super excited. This is our 2nd annual wedding expo. Last year we were at about 31 vendors, so it's much bigger, much more exciting. We're thrilled.
So double the size?
Yes, double the size. Yeah, double the fun.
Well, and hopefully double the weddings too.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes, now that the COVID chapter is behind us,
Yes.
thank goodness, we could start getting back to reality and start planning all of these amazing weddings. Now, before we started recording, we had also talked, one of the spaces that you have is perfect for post-elopement, and you mentioned the travel agent as one of the wedding professionals that'll be exhibiting at the I Do's and Brews event. But one trend that you're seeing here is not only somebody having their ceremony and reception here, but somebody who went someplace else to have a small ceremony, and then they come back here for an elopement celebration.
Yeah.
So do you want to tell us a little bit about how those work for you?
Sure. You want to talk about the lounge?
Sure.
Yep.
So one of our newer spaces is going to be the lounge, which we are actually sitting in right now. So the lounge,
you get the great view of it here, but it's amazing. It's got this beautiful exposed brick and these chandeliers. I mean, these look like vintage chandeliers. They definitely look like vintage chandeliers.
So the lounge definitely has like a very moody aesthetic to it. So like there's like hand placed mosaic tile floors. We just repainted everything. There's a beautiful marble bar, as well as like the exposed rafters that I had mentioned. So this room has a lot of character, which it's one of our favorite spaces automatically, just because it's just very unique. You're not going to see a lot of spaces like this. It's sometimes you see it's very
very cozy. Like that was the when I arrived here. That was the first word that came to mind was this is very cozy.
It's very cozy. It's very intimate. And it's kind of sexy too. Like it's like very just like moody and intimate. This is a great space for not just the elopements, but for like rehearsal dinners. We use this for the signature room for some of our smaller weddings as the cocktail hour. So the guests can use this really for anything they'd like, which is great with all of our spaces. They're very
versatile.
Versatile. Yeah, that's a great word. Exactly.
Yeah. I like that. Well, and it's true because each room has just a little bit of a different character to it. Even though it overall definitely has that. Rustic is not the word I'm looking for, because whenever I think rustic, I think of a barn.
Like a barn.
I think of more like industrial.
Yes.
More industrial than, and with a historic twist to it.
Yeah.
So
I love the way you put that.
I'm going to start using that.
Oh boy, I made it in the brochure. Well, wonderful. How many weddings do you have booked here for this year so far?
Cass, you would know.
I'm actually not sure on the exact number. I'd have to look that up, but we are typically always booked every Saturday throughout the year, especially those busy months like September, October. December is always the wild, wild west for events, not just with weddings, but holiday bookings and things like that. And then, she mentioned, we have another smaller event space, the signature room in the lounge, that accommodates those smaller weddings as well as our larger 250 guest weddings. So it's often that we're hosting 2 weddings in one night. That's extremely common for us in those busy months, which is super fun and exciting.
Well, and it's important when you have multiple weddings, that you have a venue that's used to doing that.
Sure.
Because you want to make sure that those the paths don't cross.
Right.
And it's a huge responsibility for the venue to make sure that happens.
Yeah.
And you two have definitely perfected that for sure. So, so when somebody is looking for a venue, what are some questions that they should be asking before they even pick up the phone to call you?
Yeah, that's a great question. And a lot of people who come to us maybe haven't gone to any venue tours or haven't really dipped their toes in any sort of planning or the event industry as a whole. So I would say really the biggest question for them to consider is, what is their budget? And then what are their non-negotiables? So is it the guest count? Is it that catering is on site, or is it that they can select whichever caterer that they choose? Like with us, we don't have catering in site, so the couples can bring in their own vendor, of course, with our approval and recommendations, but it does give you that flexibility to really craft the day that you want. I would also say, what's included in the venue? That's really important and something people really often don't consider. So are the tables included? Are the chairs included? Are the linens and the napkins? Do you have an event coordinator? Who's gonna make the day happen? All of these things I think are really good things to think about and ask the venues before even considering. And then you'll really learn what's important to you. Sometimes people think that the date, it's a non-negotiable, I need this date. It's really, you find what is important to you, find the venue, and go from there.
Well, and the other thing I always find with couples is when they go into a space, when it's when they find the dress.
Yes.
It's like when they find the space.
Yes.
They know because
Yes.
they just get this. Their body language completely changes.
Yeah. It's the best feeling.
They just relax that little bit, and so going online and looking on websites, that's a great place to start. But you definitely want to go to the venue itself and get the true vibe of the venue.
Absolutely.
When you come down. What would you say? What is the most fun wedding that you can remember that you've had here?
Yeah.
One that stands out.
So I'll do two things. So one, I would say a tour, because I give a lot of tours of the space. We just gave a tour this week, and the couple came in, and the bride immediately started crying because she just was such an awe. And I feel like that was really memorable to me. And, sometimes that doesn't always happen because they're overwhelmed. They don't know what questions to ask. They're nervous. And so just seeing that true, genuine reaction was really sweet. And then I would say the actual wedding, one that I think was the most memorable, I had this couple, I'll go into name them because I love them, Park and Jonathan, who were just so fun to work with. Their wedding was fantastic. They had a great group of vendors. It was a really fun day, and just they were so grateful and so kind. And I feel like that was just really memorable because you get so close when you work with your couples. And
absolutely.
Even as just a venue sometimes, and we have event coordinators on site as well. So you get really close and you work through those details over a long period of time. Even weddings that I worked years ago still, just are here.
Well, it's funny because a lot of my past couples, we're still friends on Facebook. I had a wedding that I want to say it was almost 15 years ago.
Wow.
And she posted pictures of her kids going to prom.
Yeah.
But it's really fun to watch, their families grow.
Yeah.
And, the reason why people get married is to start a marriage together.
Sure.
And when you have the reception and when you have, the photographer and the DJ and the food, that's the celebration part, but it's also the ceremony part is the rock of the marriage. And it's just really exciting because, I say this jokingly, but I actually started putting it into my marketing like you guys are going to with this little sentence little whippersnapper I came up with. But we were reading a lot of our reviews on some of the wedding planning websites, and we were seeing very consistently she was like a big sister. She was like a second mom. Aww. She was like a big sister. And I never really thought about that, but I say jokingly that we include free therapy sessions with our packages, and they do exactly what you two just did. They start laughing because they think it's funny, and then lo and behold, can I talk to you about something? And then they'll start talking about, oh, I'm having issues with my future mother-in-law, and I don't know what to do, or I'm having issues with this. And the thing is we've all heard this before, and it's like
too often.
It's like, no, this is not the first time I've heard it, and it's totally. It's somewhat normal, but, you can give some direction as to, this might be a way to handle it. This might be a way to handle it. But, planning a wedding is stressful.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
It's very stressful. And, having a good team of vendors, like you were talking about, you work with that vendor team for anywhere from 8 to 16 months, depending on how far out you book them. And you do develop a relationship and a rapport. So when you're booking your vendors, you want to get people that you trust your instinct and does it feel right? It's like your photographer. If you don't feel comfortable around your photographer, it's going to show in your pictures.
Yeah.
Because you have to click with them. You have to feel a comfort level with them. Or, when you get your florist, you want to make sure that they're understanding your vision and your budget. That's, I think one of the things that can be tricky with Pinterest, which, do you have a love-hate relationship with Pinterest?
I'm currently dealing with Pinterest right now because it's like I have so many ideas, and then it's just like then I just have too many ideas, and I'm like, I don't even know what I want anymore. But I want everybody else's wedding.
Well, like one of the things I think, especially for decorators and florists, is that they feature all of these platinum weddings,
right,
and luxury weddings on them, and then they go to the florist, and the florist tells them, well, that's a $500 centerpiece that you like, and so it's also important to find vendors that understand your vision but also understand your budget.
Yes,
because going into debt is no way to start a new chapter of your life. Well, wonderful. What are some other tips that you would offer to couples who are listening today that are just getting started in the wedding process? Because choosing a venue is step number one.
Yes.
The church and the venue, that's your first stop.
Yes. So I'm actually a 2025 bride.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Yes, fling the bling, fling the bling. There we go.
So shout out to Zach. So planning a wedding, like I started, I got engaged the end of last year, but like working in this industry, I already knew who I wanted to work with based on like that rapport like I have with those other vendors and like how well we've worked with like the clients and myself and the other coordinators. So it's like I knew exactly who I wanted to work with. So it's also like I went into wedding planning and also looking for a venue as if like I want my wedding to feel the same way that I would run it the day of, because a lot of other venues don't have what we do. So like having a coordinator on site, whether you choose a coordinator that's going to be, especially with the venue, or if you're going to have a planner, it is so important to know who's going to help you run that day, because I don't want to work on my day. So
Good. That's the way it should be.
So I think exactly like what Cass was saying, like finding somewhere are they going to have a coordinator on site who's going to help you get those pieces together and bring your vision together and help you with those little things, because we really work with each other for like the next year to 6 months to the day of, like we're constant contact with each other. So I definitely went into it like trying to find like a venue that's going to check the same boxes that Rhinegeist does, because I love the way that we coordinate our weddings. Like we are very precise about everything to a point where it is like down to perfection, that we take the timeline very seriously around here.
So do we. I joke, but I literally, usually it's a printed out 6-page timeline because it's so detailed, but you have to be that way because you need to make sure that it's almost like a script, like a movie script.
100%.
And you have to know when's your bakery delivering your desserts and your cake, and what time is your photographer starting pictures? Are you seeing each other beforehand? Just all the little things that you wouldn't think that you have to spell out, but you actually do.
Yes. Yeah. Like sometimes I'll be asking couples and I'm like, so when do you want to go do rooftop photos? And they're like, rooftop photos? And I'm like, oh, you don't know about our rooftop? Let me show you while you're here. And I just keep selling it kind of a little bit. Because like we have one of the best rooftops in Cincinnati, which if you haven't seen the photos, on our Pinterest, by the way, absolutely beautiful. Like the pictures that we get on the rooftop, because the sun sets right over the hills, and there's a bunch of beautiful houses and artwork that are going to be in the hills right behind us. It's just like one of a kind space, especially just like being at Rhinegeist, Cincinnati staple. Like you can't go wrong with it.
Wonderful. Well, and the other thing that's nice about Rhinegeist is if you have your ceremony here, you don't have to worry about a rain plan.
Yes,
all inside. Air conditioned.
Air conditioning's a big one.
It's huge. It's huge. No, one time I had a ceremony and we had to put this particular venue had an outdoor space, and it was 105 heat index outside, and it broke my heart because I always try to keep the ceremonies in their original intended location if we can, but it was just too hot. And we had to move it inside, and the bride was a little heartbroken at first. I think she was a little mad at me, but then after the ceremony was over, she's like, I just want to thank you. You were smart and you pulled it in, and I know I was telling you not to, but you were right. But wonderful. So how can people find Rhinegeist online?
So Rhinegeist, just rhinegeist.com/private events.
Do you want to spell Rhinegeist? Because
yes,
it's not like it sounds.
Yes.
We were talking about that before we went on. I'm like, with a last name like Peach, that's not spelled that way.
Sure.
All about spelling.
So Rhinegeist, RHINEGEIST, Ghost of the Rhine. We're in Over the Rhine, which is so where we got our name, .com/private events. And then for tickets for I Do's and Brews, you can visit our website or you can go directly to the ticketing page, which is, I believe it's humanitix.com/idos and brews, or events.humanitix/idos and brews, where you can get those $15 tickets, and we can't wait to see you there.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank
you for
you.
tuning in. Hopefully you got some really great tips and advice for when you're first starting your wedding planning process, and congratulations on your upcoming wedding. Be sure to subscribe to Your Dream Day Wedding Planning Podcast and our YouTube channel so that you can get all the latest and greatest as far as tips go for planning your upcoming wedding. This is Kathy Peach Lucas with Your Dream Day. Happy planning.